Hi there, welcome back. Another shirt, another guitar. So this is all about org consolidation. So first of all, I think the idea of org merges and consolidations is now becoming the norm, not the exception. We've heard over the last 2 years more and more customers who are grappling with multiple orgs and they're trying to work out how to combine them. And why is that? First of all, M&A is accelerating. So every time you acquire another company, then they're probably going to have Salesforce, and therefore you've now got to take their Salesforce org and merge it into the existing Salesforce org. But the other thing that's happening is that Salesforce often has been sold departmentally. It's been sold into different divisions. And now companies are taking an enterprise-wide approach to Salesforce. The CIO is looking across the patch and going, okay, I've got 15 orgs here. How do I consolidate them, or do I need to consolidate them? So I think we're seeing more and more of this happening. And as Salesforce is becoming more and more of the strategic enterprise platform, the customer 360 platform, we're going to see a lot more of the challenges that of merging these orgs. So I think the first thing is that this is an operational, not a technical issue. People go, okay, right, we need to merge the orgs, right? Let's start looking at the data. Let's see how we can put them together. But what's driving this is actually an operational issue. If we are merging these two orgs, presumably it's driven by a business need, which is saying we want to try and streamline, get some consistency over how the way different business units are operating. So we need to take this from an operational perspective before we rush into thinking about technically how we're going to implement it. And that means managing the politics, managing the consolidation of how business operates across maybe different business divisions, different departments, different countries. So again, it's an operational issue, it's an organizational issue before it's a technical issue. So one of my comments is hope is not a strategy. So when we start looking at the decisions about how we're going to merge these things, we need some good solid analysis, because this is going to be a major exercise. It's going to be a huge cost in terms of the development time. So we need to make sure that the decisions we make are rooted in good solid analysis. And we can't go on hunches or tribal knowledge or just limited analysis. Oh, this org we should throw away, it's too complicated, or these two orgs look like they're the same org, we can merge them. We actually need to get into the detail. And the devil really is in the detail. If we don't get this right, we'll end up with something that's worse than separate orgs. So we need some rigorous analysis, and that starts with understanding the business processes. Understanding what is the process in division A of how they do sales? What are the different sales stages that they go through? When we're starting to think about, okay, how does customer success work? Are we going to end up with one customer success team that supports all the different business divisions and therefore one unified set of processes? Or are we going to end up with separate processes? And therefore, how are we going to support that from a Salesforce perspective? Do we need separate orgs? Do we need one org with actually different dimensions? That's the first thing. The second thing is we need to then understand the configuration of the orgs that we're looking at. And I said you've got org 1, then you've got org 2 and N. You may end up, when I was talking to a customer the other day, 55 different orgs that they're trying to merge. 4 different business units. So the discussion then was, do I want 4 orgs or 1 org? Clearly, I don't want 55 orgs. The worst situation I had, not from our Salesforce days, but when we were involved in SAP, one of a big global telco had 139 SAP instances. Just frightening. So we need to think about not just with once we've thought about the operational process, we now need to do the detailed analysis and say, okay, what's in these orgs? Let's build that metadata dictionary. Let's understand the complexity of the org. Again, another little story, talking to a consulting firm last week. They said they'd been brought in to do an org merge. They ran Elements against both of the orgs, and they discovered one was War and Peace and one was Dilbert. And merging those was just going to be impossible. So the first job was not merge. The first job was understand how much simplification could take place. So again, so like Elements can do that heavy lifting, can do that automated org analysis and get you a good readout of what's in the org. But the second thing we'll do is also tell you about the data analysis. We'll understand which fields are populated, which aren't. We'll tell you by object which are the most heavily used objects. So again, so you can start to make some decisions on how you're going to do your org merges rooted in really solid analysis. And again, using Elements, that analysis is done every night. So you make some changes, implement some new managed packages, you delay your decision by 3 months, you've still got an up-to-date picture. And again, what we're hearing from consulting firms who are going in and doing that org analysis, it's halving the time it takes them to do that analysis. And they're getting a better answer because it's constantly up to date, it's in a metadata dictionary. So if we've got some analysis, we then need to agree the strategy. And there are 3 answers. I know there are 4, but actually there are really 3 answers. First of all, we've realized that actually the business processes are so different and the go-to-market is so different that it doesn't make sense to merge the orgs. There's no business case to do that. We will keep them separate orgs. And that's a valid answer. The second is that we're going to create a brand new org and cherry pick the best bits from the different orgs based on the consolidated business processes. So we've got 3 orgs, we're going to build a brand new org, and we're going to start that and just pull from the different orgs what we think makes most sense to support the new business processes. And then the last option is you choose a master org. So you've got maybe 3 orgs, you choose one and go, right, this is the one that we're going to keep. And then we're going to pull features in from the other orgs. That's 3A. 3B is you take, again, a master org, and then you put all the configurations from all the different orgs into that one org and you clean it up later. That's a really bad idea because the chance to clean up the org is where you have one master and you start to pull things in, because there is no later. You said it will clean it up later. You'll never get round to it. So I think that is not necessarily the best approach. 1, 2, and 3A, I think you should be choosing across those in terms of your strategy. And then you need to execute on that. And clearly there are some huge benefits in doing this. You can streamline your processes and drive out some cost savings. So before you've even done the org merge, you're already identifying that you can, the best practice in division 1 around sales and the sales stages is actually best practice. And you can use that approach in the different, say the different divisions, and immediately get some cost savings. So this is a business process activity first in terms of understanding how to consolidate, and you'll drive some savings out there. And we've seen up to 25% of waste being driven out just because of that, the business process mapping. And of course, Elements that will support you there because we're a business process mapping tool. The second is a simplification of the tech stack, getting rid of managed packages you don't use, simplifying maybe some of the integrations. There are integrations which are there which are never used anymore. Both simplifying that, saving performance, saving maybe license fees in terms of that consolidation. So that's that point. You can consolidate licensing. Maybe you don't need those managed packages which you're paying money for. Maybe you've got multiple managed packages or multiple licenses that aren't being used. So you can get some immediate cost savings there. What are the red flags? What you should be aware of? The first is insufficient business analysis. Let's not rush into the merger of these 2 orgs before we genuinely understand what the business benefits are, how the business processes are going to work. Otherwise, we end up just with quite a complex org, and we haven't driven out any of the business benefits of doing this. The second thing that we see is the politics of data ownership. I own the account object, and therefore I'm going to make it work for me. So business unit 1, business unit 2, and 3 are now going, well, hang on, we use the account object too, so we need our changes there. So we need to make sure that we're managing the politics of how everyone is going to work with that one org. And then the last thing is we can quite often end up with overly complex architectures if we haven't thought through the streamlining, or we're trying to build one org that supports multiple very different businesses. And we see that a lot with where people have got just a ton of different record types. A phrase I'd say, record types are like glitter. Once you've got them, they're really, really hard to get rid of. So you need to be very wary of just putting everything in and saying, okay, well, this business unit's got 7 record types, this one's got 15, this one over here. And then you end up with all these different record types. And again, you never get to do that consolidation. And all you're really doing is you're just lumping all of those orgs into one org. And really, you don't get any of the benefits out of that. So I think this is a huge opportunity. It feels like a big lift. It feels like, oh, we've got to go and do all that business analysis. We've actually got to do the technical analysis. But it's your opportunity to redesign the business operation to drive it for agility. And now, of all times, we need to have agile businesses. I mean, if COVID has taught us anything, is that those people who can move fastest are those that are going to survive or thrive. So this is an opportunity to engage the business, redefine how their business operations, and build it so it's built for agility, which then means that we can support that business with a Salesforce org which is equally agile, which means you've essentially got a new org with limited or no technical debt, but more importantly, we've got our config knowledge documented. We actually understand why we've made those changes, and you can start from a really good point, and therefore release cycles are faster, release rollbacks are reduced because we've got a clear understanding about how the org's been built, the impact analysis of making changes, which means we can run faster. So as it says there, carpe diem, seize the day. This is, if you have an opportunity for an org merge, don't think of it as a huge technical challenge. Think of it as a huge business opportunity to exploit the power of Salesforce and take a huge leap forward in terms of business agility.